So just a week ago in Atlanta, Georgia, we commemorated the 5-year remembrance of the Atlanta spa shootings. We did this in partnership with Advancing Justice Atlanta, who led the community response in 2021. The Atlanta spa shootings, in which 8 people were killed, including 6 Asian American women who worked at spas. The spa shootings revealed to many around the country how anti-Asian hate, racism, and misogyny are often intertwined. In the South, these dynamics are not new. They are part of the reality many immigrant survivors have been navigating for years. My organization, Raksha, which means protection, is the only South Asian nonprofit addressing domestic violence, sexual assault, and other violent crimes in Georgia. And for many years, we were the only group in the entire Southeast United States. For 30 years, we have supported community members in navigating interpersonal violence, but also waves of racism and policy backlash. Our community has weathered 9/11 backlash, Operation Meth Merchant, which targeted South Asian shop owners and workers in 2003, the Muslim ban in 2017, and the criminalization of immigrant communities in today's political environment. Across all these movements, one constant has remained. South Asian and Indo-Caribbean survivors need safe places to turn. Safe places that speak their language, understand their unique immigration and cultural needs. One of the biggest concerns when it comes to community safety is the lack of protection for victims of interpersonal violence and trafficking, particularly in places like faith centers, courthouses, shelters, sexual assault centers, schools, and hospitals. Survivors of violence rely upon these safe places for protection. We have heard many survivors say that they now face an impossible choice between their own safety and deportation. In other words, they're afraid that the abuse at home and of deportation when they're in streets, at work, or in spaces that they had thought were places of refuge. Seva Fields, a South Asian survivor in Georgia, recently reflected that she might not have spoken up about her abusive marriage if she faced today's risk of detention or deportation by ICE. Ms. Fields is not alone. Many are afraid to speak up or get help in today's climate. We have survivors who've been picked up for traffic violations and treated with disrespect by local law enforcement and then sent to immigration detention. This survivor had applied for relief under the Violence Against Women Act and should not have been sent to detention based on Violence Against Women Act laws. Many survivors are waiting to have those same immigration reliefs reviewed, and the backlog can often take more than 10 years for them to get their relief. That means in that time, they are subject to victimization by their landlords, community members, and employers. Additionally, organizations such as Raksha, immigrant-serving organizations, are facing challenges. Raksha recently had $700,000 in OVC grants terminated because of its DEI by DOJ. Additionally, we are still waiting for OVW sexual assault cultural funds for 5 months where we have gotten no determination of whether we're getting that funding or not. 5 months. We should have found out October 1st. Additionally, the federal government has attached new requirements to funding that forces nonprofits to sign certifications stating that they are not engaging in activities related to DEI and not engaging in terrorist activity. Of course, that definition of terrorist activity is changing every day and is not very clear. These vague, sweeping certifications create uncertainty and risk for nonprofits simply for trying to serve our communities. Raksha joins our community partners in the South Asian Coalition to call on congressional members to protect the ability of nonprofit organizations to carry out their missions without vague and overly broad restrictions, restore sensitive and protected protections, and end immigration enforcement tactics that target immigrant survivors seeking safety and support under the Protecting Sensitive Locations Act, H.R. 5166. Reinstate and expand protections and immigration benefits to all survivors and pass legislation such as Working for Immigrant Safety and Empowerment, or the WISE Act, H.R. 2851, that would extend critical immigration benefits to immigrant survivors. Require agencies to uphold and enforce VAWA protections, including devoting sufficient resources to reduce the tremendous backlogs of survivors' applications at USCIS. And oppose efforts to defund sanctuary cities, which would strip many cities of funding food assistance, access to services like domestic violence centers, and other emergency housing, crisis hotlines, and legal services, emergency medical care, and transportation that enables survivors to escape abuse. Every survivor deserves safety, and every organization working to protect them should be able to do that without fear. Thank you.